How's it going, guys? I'm Robert from Machado Visuals, and I wanted to give a quick breakdown on a recent 3 camera interview I worked on. Now, I had to run BTS myself, which meant I had to set up the camera using a quick GorillaPod, so sorry for the pretty lackluster footage. During our scout, this is the location client had initially thought of using, but we eventually settled on pivoting towards the front of the display so that our frame was symmetrical. As you can see, this caused major implications with lighting, as the main display has a massive glare from the opposite window. Not to mention any lights we used needed to be skirted or off axis. With all this in mind, I went to the drawing board to come up with a lighting plot. Lighting multi-camera interviews is always tricky because they're all generally shot the same way, a wide master and over the shoulders depending on how many people are in the scene. The more people you have, the more coverage you'll need, and the more challenging lighting becomes, since you'll need to figure out how to light without seeing stands in the frame, unless that's what you're going for. In most cases, this usually means you'll have to light from above. This is what my initial plan looked like. I wanted to cross-key using two 300D Mark IIs with light domes, but during our scout, I noticed that talent would be sitting much farther apart from each other than I had envisioned, so the light domes wouldn't have played as close as I would have liked. Instead, I opted to use a junior boom to send out a 300D with a lantern attachment. Keeping shape and direction in mind, we flew the fixture just past talent, so we're achieving an omnidirectional farside key. By using a farside key, we're able to retain some contrast in the face so our scene doesn't look so flat and something you'd see on a television broadcast. To shape the light, I skirted the backside of the fixture so that it wouldn't show up in the rear glass display. The junior boom is great because it has an integrated 25-pound counterweight, and we use the super clamp to utilize the ballast as an additional counterweight. You're not able to boom as much weight as something like a Menace arm, but it also requires almost zero setup time, which makes it really easy and quick to use. To tackle the reflections, we sent up an 8x ultra balance using the negative side towards set, which blocked the window glare and helped black out the glass display. This got us around 90% there. We still had a fewer smaller reflections showing up, so we sent up a few 4x floppies and clamped some extra duvetine to the frame. For fill, we set up two separate 300Ds with light domes going through 6x rags, one full grid and another bleached muslin. In terms of ratios, our key was set to a 2.8 and our fill was set at around a 2.5, so about a half stop difference. This is also another great use case of using an incident meter. Since talent usually doesn't arrive until it's time to roll, I was able to light a general area without stand-ins and having to rely on a waveform, which is measuring reflectance. Whenever I'm lighting for an interview, I'll use a meter to set initial exposure and then use waveforms to dial into taste once talent is in. Since all our sources were from Aputure, I was able to use the remote to independently adjust levels on my own with the meter. Having this ability is incredible, especially when I'm wearing multiple hats on smaller sets. This is a must for any overhead rigging as well, as it would take an extraordinary amount of effort to bring the light back down just to adjust settings. For our cameras, our master was on an a7S III with two FX9s as our overs. The a7S was rocking a 16-35 and our FX9s had an 85 and 7200 G master, both set to 85mm at 2.8. A lot of you are probably interested in how well these cameras match, and I'm planning on doing a more in-depth video down the line, but to give it TLDR, we used S-cinetone on the FX9, and for the A7S, I used HLG3 in a Rec 709 color space. For this client, I always bake in looks to help ease their post workload, and I was pleasantly surprised how well these cameras cut together. I've had all the cameras into a decimator multi-viewer so that we were able to see all the inputs concurrently, and not only was this super helpful with matching our coverage, but it also gave me peace of mind that the A7S was matching the FX9. It also gives client peace of mind since they can easily see all the feeds and sign off on the look. Hopefully this video was helpful in some way. I'm really happy with how the A7S has been handling so far. I'm always slightly hesitant when using new gear on jobs, but aside from those audio issues I mentioned in a previous video, this camera hasn't skipped a beat. I know a lot of you have been asking for a detailed rig breakdown, so keep an eye out in the next couple weeks. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.